Welcome, 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 ladies and gentlemen. This is Leadership Roundtable Series. I am your host, Natan Verhovsky. I have my incredible co-host, Mr. Tim Melone, with me. And tonight we have a very, very cool topic. We're going to be going in. It's normally a very interesting event, and I'll share a little bit of how it works. This is a symposium, like from the Greek word, where intelligentsia gets together, drinks, shares ideas, has some fun, and really leaves getting more than what you came with. So we never like to have, 30, 40 people show up. It's not a networking event. It's meant to have a handful of very, very interesting people share, and all of us being able to come to that hopeful place where we get to leave with more than what we came with. I'm going to let Tim, I'll introduce him in a second, give us the topic for tonight. And then I'll ask each of you to go around if you can, come on camera, come on mic. I understand if you can't, but if you can introduce yourself, where you're calling in from, what you currently do, that would be wonderful and set the stage and help us lively up the conversation on our side. So without further ado, you're an incredible, incredible leadership executive coaching, transition specialist, and coaching services extraordinaire mentor and guru, Mr. Tim Melone. He's coming from a background of about 25 years in human resource and management, coming with multiple advanced degrees and an experiential set where he really, really focuses on being able to listen, being able to assist leaders, discovering more about where their life's direction is. And that's where his website and his company and his mission comes from, your life's direction. So in that context, I'm going to ask him to add some meat to the bones. And then Tim, tell us, what is the cool topic for tonight?
Yeah, so everybody who's on the call tonight, thanks for being here. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody and interacting with you all. And Natan is right. I mean, I've been doing this work for a number of years. I think I was on a call today with with a potential client talking a little bit about what I do. And as we exchanged ideas and we exchanged thoughts and I answered his question, I said to him, I provide support to those leaders, C-suite executives who have experienced some degree of success, but there is something that is missing, and there is something that's in the way of them maybe accomplishing a goal that has been evasive to this point. And I said, I like to think that I provide the support for those individuals to become engaged and
Mm,
to reach those things that they have been unable to for years. And I said, I'm not comparing myself to a pastor, to clergy, but it's very noble work and it's very exciting work to get that close to someone. So
yeah.
I love this, and it's in that spirit that we're going to be talking tonight about resilience in the states.
Mm,
This has been a tough week for
yeah.
some
Yeah.
disappointment for some, and I'm curious to know how leaders respond to conflict, respond to um, just the face of how they respond in the face of challenges. And so we'll be talking about resistance and how to cope and how to develop new coping skills. So I'm excited to hear from all of you. As Natan said, this is an opportunity that we have to hear from others.
Amen. John, welcome. And what we would like to do, I'm going to introduce myself very briefly, and we will pop around the room. Everyone, introduce yourself, where you're calling in from. Let us know a little bit about your background. It'd be wonderful. Hello, TS. How are you?
Thursday the fifth in the morning, and then either Friday the sixth in the
Awesome.
morning to the afternoon.
So we've got a little bit of background in the worries. No worries. So for me, if you don't know me, my
Yes.
name's Natan. I've been an elite energy coach for about 30 years. I started at Cirque du Soleil, worked with Olympians, national sports teams, had about 15,000 people go through my hands in the last 30 years. Um, when the COVID hit and I had to come online, I didn't want to go through the same problems that everyone else was going through with the technology challenges, with the marketing, with the ups and downs. So I founded Allura Creative Agency, and we're a not-for-profit, private, invitation-only marketing and event production house. We put on events such as this where we get to meet executives, C-suite, leaders, founders, people that are normally not coming to events that are going to sell or teach or preach or tell them stuff, but would love to maybe come to something where they get to speak and be heard, maybe learn something from others. And that's what we try to do here. So I will go around and I'll put in my contact and Tim's contact info in. If everyone could put your contact info in the chat so we can all connect. There we go on my side. And Tim, who would you like to be as our first victim? I mean, volunteer.
Well, let's see. The person who's next on my screen would be John. John, welcome here. I'd love to hear from you.
Hi, well, I appreciate you doing the roundtable because so often it's someone trying to sell their services or tell you how they can help leadership. And I've been in executive roles both with large Fortune 100 companies and then with three employee startups. I started in corporate America and then started doing more entrepreneurial work. And kind of what you guys are talking about is what I've always coached within both the large and small organizations is really look at everybody as a contributor and don't ask more of your employees or anyone else that you wouldn't ask of yourself, and really make sure that you're recognizing the work that everybody else is doing. When Tim, when you're talking about kind of current environment, it's one where you really got to focus on things you can influence and change, and try not to let too much of the outside crash in on you, because there's enough stress and just struggle with your everyday life, and you're not going to change the world. So when I look at what you can do, it's you got to be a positive influence for everyone you touch, and whether that's in your work life or in your daily life. That's true leadership. Lead by example. You always say it's not what you say, it's what you do. And in large part, that's very true. So what I try to get people to understand is, I'll say a lot, lead with love. And people say, well, it's great in theory, but there's some people you just can't deal with. And it's like, you know what? There's something about them that you're going to like. And if you don't want to deal with them, there's no reason to deal with it. You don't need negative energy brought into you, but don't let it influence what you put out. So, and there is such a thing as tough love. So it's not like you're always the nicest guy in the world, because a lot of times you got to deliver the truth, the hard truth. So I hope that kind of gives you a little bit of an overview. And I've worked in high technology my whole life. I started off in the wireless industry, took over a medical device company and worked in the medical device industry, went from there into genomics and life sciences. So I've worked with conventional medicine, holistic medicine, molecular medicine. And
That's very cool.
And what I see out of that is everyone has a complaint about one aspect and they tend to work in silos, but they all have something great to deliver. So working with them, understanding and worked in all three worlds, it really helps from a wellness standpoint, not just disease and injury, but from wellness. So Natan, when you talk about Cirque, I love Cirque. My son's actually runs a huge lighting design event firm. So he does work for Cirque and pretty much everyone else out there.
That's
and
wonderful.
It's
neat that we get to play with things like that.
Yep. Yeah. So let me roll on to the next person. I'll
John,
you
who'd you
guys
like
in
to
the
hear
meantime.
from? John, who'd you like to hear from?
Oh, Scott's next to me, so
don't call on Scott. He can't participate.
The one guy who can't. Yeah, he's stuck in a martial art tournament.
Oh, cool. He's not wearing a gi. I would have never known. All right, James, you're up.
Hi, everyone. I apologize for joining a few minutes late. I got stuck in Mindcast and couldn't get into the room, so I was able to get in. So I missed the very beginning, but I'll introduce myself. I'm James Goggins. I work for Partnership Solutions International, based out of Tampa. I run Vice President for Revenue Operations and Business Development, and I apologize because I missed the original questions.
We were hoping just to get a little bit more from you, and that's okay. That's absolutely perfect, James. Who would you like to hear from?
Raul?
Go with Tanya. Sure. She was going to be my first choice, and she shut her camera off, and I forgot.
Okay. James, did you call on me, Rahul?
Sure. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
That's
So
great.
yeah, happy to introduce myself. Rahul Patel. I'm a physician, rheumatologist. I work in the biotech sector, have worked in a variety of settings, large contract research organization companies, large pharma, um, the last few years in the smaller biotech settings. And currently, I have my own independent consulting business organization called IR Bio Consulting. So kind of shifted over to be my own boss, provide independent subject matter expertise to a variety of companies. I consider myself a general student of, leadership principles and teaching. I don't have an MBA, but enjoy reading a lot of books, related to the topic. Also, just general, management related books. I'm kind of a fan of Bob Sutton and Huggy Rao at Stanford Business School and some of the books that they've published. And yeah, that's a little bit about myself.
Great. Raul, are you still a practicing physician?
I do keep my license active, and there's a charity clinic in our area where I volunteer on weekends. But by the nature of my biotech-related drug development support work, I'm not able to keep a regular, practice, but just kind of occasional volunteer work.
That's great. Good. Well, I'll have to hear a little bit more about that. Hopefully, we'll have some time. But nice to have you this evening.
Sure.
And I guess we'll just hear from Tanya. Tanya, you're left if you're still around. Oh, her phone is ringing off the hook.
Oh, well, Dr.
Well,
T, we
Tanya,
understand why. We understand why.
yeah,
It's okay. Fingers
Tanya,
crossed. I think you might need to change either microphone or a new speaker combo. If somebody's more technical, maybe they'd know.
Yeah, just restart your if you have earbuds, restart the earbuds. Or you might have to just restart the stream.
Oh, testing, testing. Say something. Oh, they're so close. Because your screen lights. Oh, now you're on mute though.
yeah, we can hear something. It's just not clear.
Yeah, maybe turn your volume up, if possible.
No, it's not picking up the sound. The volume won't
Oh,
matter.
darn. Darn it, darn it. Wow, that's neat. It's like it's possessed the microphone there.
Tanya, are you using the computer audio?
Maybe no, I wish we had those kind of cool,
Yeah,
woo, powers.
go click on the microphone audio and just make sure it's on the right microphone.
And worst case, Dr. T, you can pop out. I will let you back in. I promise. No worries.
Great.
Okay. Hopefully she gets that fixed. Next, we have either Darren, are you able to come on vocal and give us a little background about yourself?
I can do that, and I'm
Awesome.
sorry
Thank
for
you.
not being on camera.
No
I'm at
worries,
an
man.
event for my son's school, and so the phone is up to my ear. Um, my name is Darren Mitchell. I am in the field of healthcare. I'm vice president of operations with a for-profit company called Psychogeriatric Services. We provide mental health services to long-term care facilities, so sending psychiatrists, nurse practitioners, counselors, psychologists into nursing homes to provide the care. I've been a healthcare manager, I guess, since 2007. But initially I was a therapist providing individual counseling, and figured out that I enjoyed building systems for clinicians more than doing therapy every day. If there's anything that I enjoy doing is creating environments for clinicians to work. And when it comes to being a healthcare executive and working with a team, I think my superpower is, being a therapist, using a lot of those tricks and tips to read body language, to probe and pull things from people in order to really bring a team together. So that's me in a nutshell.
That's very cool.
That's very cool. I mean, it sounds like, well, even Raul, you probably have some similarities, but isn't it great when you make a change and it's the right kind of change because it's what you wanted to do and where you get your energy and passion, and you can see all of that come alive. So, Darren, thanks so much for sharing that.
Yeah, happy to be here.
And let's see, what
Roberto.
about, yeah, Roberto.
Let's see if we'll give Tanya a couple more seconds in case she's still gotten problems with her audio. Nice to see you.
How's everybody doing?
Awesome, man. We can hear you. Yay. We're in. Good. So
Ah.
it's not a a technology virus going around. So that's good. So talk to us. Tell us where you're calling in from. Tell us a bit about yourself. What do you do?
I'm calling in from Houston, Texas.
Awesome.
I got an invite. I think it was on LinkedIn. I clicked
Yeah.
somewhere and it was like invitation for leadership. It's like, I want to be invitation for leadership. I'm gonna click here.
Very
And through the amazing feat of technology, you click a couple of things and you get like a bunch of smart people on the screen. So, oh shoot. I don't want to
Awesome.
don't let them see me.
That's very cool. You're
Let
very
me just
welcome.
listen to them talk for a little while.
We appreciate it. This is a cool place where you get to come in. There's no judgment. It's a safe place. And you definitely get to leave with more than what you left or what you came with. So a lot of that comes from hearing, but it was one of my mentors who told me, he said, look, if you want to be good, you got to give. But if you want to be great, you got to learn to receive. And it's one of those places where the little bit more that you give, the absolute more that you absolutely receive. So welcome, welcome. That's wonderful.
Awesome.
What do you
awesome.
do for what do you
Thank
do
you
in
for
your
having
time?
me here. I'm actually going around like to as many networking events, doing an intro for our YouTube channel. It's called the Premium Advantage, and we're looking to invite folks because it's a solution-based situation. And we're learning. Everybody's learning, and so I'm looking to have smart leadership type guests and people with good information uh, as guests. With the weekly episodes and stuff. So I'm continuously meeting folks, getting new information, and from Houston. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be about Houston, but that's where I'm at. So
I like that. Thank you, man. That's awesome. So everybody, if you've noticed, has been putting their contact info in the chat. Also,
oh,
if
is
you've
that
been
right?
listening, you'll notice everybody is an
Oh,
executive
cool.
and a leader, and that's the reason that they're here.
Oh, that's nice.
I'll put this back in the chat again in case you came in a little bit late and missed it. This is Tim's
That's good.
contact information.
I see it.
Definitely the things that we're going to be talking about, and Tim's going to go do a deep dive and debunk a couple myths on resilience in a moment. Definitely a very different conversation when you get to have a one-on-one privately and do a deep dive and see if there's any commonalities and areas of overlap that may be of benefit for you to continue and explore.
Yeah, cool. That'll be amazing. Yeah, and again, I appreciate you guys. If any questions about more details and stuff, yeah, just let me know. Right now, I'm using a posted channel. Okay.
Awesome sauce. You've
My
got our
contact.
contact. We'd love to speak with
Yeah,
everybody.
my contact information, the channel info, my contact info. Awesome. And I'll copy yours and I'll send you guys emails. So that's cool.
Golden. So I think we've all been introduced. Well, the wonderful Tanya, no, we're still missing out.
Oh man.
But when, if possible, we'll grab her and we'll do a late intro. So, Tim, I wanted to take a look at and where you were coming in from, because we've done a number of these and we've talked to people in different industries. Healthcare has come up a lot, especially when we're looking at the high-end human resource management and dealing with people that are in that executive role up there. It's a different kettle of fish when you're coming from healthcare, let's say, compared to a lot of other industries, and it's neat. When we were talking earlier about resilience as the topic for this one, where did you want to steer that boat?
Yeah, I would be really curious again in the spirit of the symposium, as Natan talked about. I think as leaders, John, you mentioned something about control, and I think as leaders, I think that there is a myth. Natan, you mentioned the word myth. I think that there's a myth about leadership that I need to know everything. I need to be in control of everything. Like everything is dependent on me. And I just, as I work with leaders, what I'm finding is while that might be a belief that a lot of leaders have, it's not leading them to a place of growth in their own life. And it certainly is not helping them to develop their teams. And so, for right now, I would just be really curious to hear from each of you how you see resilience. How does it show up for the people you work with? How does it show up for you? I'd also, be curious. Well, I don't want to stack too many questions here, but maybe we could just start there. Is how do you see resilience? What are your thoughts about resilience? Well,
Who'd
you're
you like us to
shaking
start
your
off?
head.
Sure, I can chime in. So, well, one, being in the biotech sector, there is a common, or high degree of risk, and failure is often, common. You read about, studies failing or companies going belly up. So, definitely resilience is quite important, and it takes the right sort of temperament, type of person that's willing to embrace potential risk, but also, think strategically, work collaboratively and want to succeed, and handle potential problems or crises. So I kind of lump all that together in resilience. So having the right mindset, willing to accept risk, but also mitigate risk, and then understanding the nature of the game, that failures do come up and you have to kind of pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep going.
I mean, that is really true, isn't it? That the best way to learn resilience is, well, we are all going to experience conflict. We're all going to experience some degree of failure. And so that ability to use your words, to dust yourself off, to get back up and to keep going is, sometimes in order to build resilience, you got to experience something that's hard.
I like that. Who'd like to chime in?
Hey, it's Darren. I want to talk to something that was mentioned earlier. Managers not doing everything and building resilience that way. I'm just thinking about the role I currently in. I came into, I inherited a team that was micromanaged. A lot of people who have been in their roles for 5 or 6 years were afraid to make any moves without coming to me and seeking approval. There was a lot of anxiety when it came to working, because they did not feel as if they could make a mistake, because their previous supervisor, rolled with an iron fist. It's taken me probably 6 or 7 months, and repeatedly telling the team, "Hey, you're hired to be a professional. You are a department leader. Give me the plan that you want to follow. Update me as necessary, but I'm not going to approve every plan that you have in place." And so taking that approach and giving them the flexibility to build a system, grow their own team, gives them the authority and autonomy to truly work within their roles. Now I'm going to bring this around to resilience, because they are, they have skin in the game. They are building a system of their own. They Even if they take a step back and if something doesn't succeed, they realize that they are supported by their immediate supervisor, which is myself. They're safe to fail and to grow, learn from their mistakes, and be able to move forward with correcting as necessary. It's the idea of, and this is one of those counseling terms, kind of that unconditional positive regard or support, letting your team members know that they, as long as they're doing their best, they're following, policies, procedures, I'm going to support them. And so they're able to fail, get back up and move forward and learn from their mistakes.
Yeah. I mean, I absolutely, Darren, may I make a comment about that? I think you're absolutely right. You created the space and the permission that, hey, I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm not asking you to be perfect, but I am asking you to be in control. And sometimes there might be a mistake. Sometimes there might be a failure, but we're going to learn from that. And I really, really appreciate two things. I appreciate your giving the team permission. And secondly, I really appreciate your patience because you said it's taken you 6 to 7 months. And when you're trying to change behavior, it often takes some time. So thanks for your giving permission and thanks for your patience.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I tell my team, I am, my ultimate goal is to work my way out of my job,
Yes.
so
Yes.
that they are, they're in control. I can truly work about 6 hours of the day, because they're doing everything,
It's
and
simple.
yeah, and that's in my opinion, that's how my mentor said to lead. Give your you have managers, give them the authority, give them the ability to lead and to grow and be there to support.
So great. Thanks, Darren. Would love to hear from somebody else.
It's like you're saying, you learn, I was I wrestled through high school, college, internationally, and you learn more from your losses than you do from your wins. And that's the same thing I always point out to folks in a work environment is you got to make mistakes to grow and learn. And the same thing you're all saying is you got to make sure you're hiring people that you think are smarter than you because they're going to drive the product. And when you look at it from a product engineering standpoint, you want to make sure that one, they've got the confidence in what they're doing. Two, they're not afraid to make mistakes. Because from an engineering standpoint, if you let them engineer, they'll engineer forever. You got to get a product out. You're going to see problems with it, and that's how you make it better. You don't know enough yourself to make it better.
Yeah.
Put it out, have a million people use it, and you'll find out all the things it needs to do. And I had an engineer working in the medical space with me after coming out of the wireless space, and he summed it up pretty interesting. He said, doctors learn by making mistakes. Engineers learn to not make mistakes. And it's very true. He goes, and that's why what they do, they call it a practice. And doctors will tell you themselves, yeah, we call it a practice because you're never done. And it's very different philosophies and working on in each of those silos, coming out of the very fast moving wireless industry into a very slow moving medical industry. You really have to readjust in terms of how you manage because people have very different approaches and they'll make excuses if you let them. And like Darren said, when you go into a group that's been managed with an iron fist, you got to realize those employees really have PTSD. I mean, you almost got to counsel them to let them decide that they can make decisions. And what I always tell them, if you're being paid a salary, you're being paid to think.
Yeah.
If I wanted you to do a task, I'd hire someone hourly.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure that Darren had to realize that as well. You've got to unlearn some things too. Your brain has been wired to operate in fear mode, and unlearning fear is a challenging thing. Roberto, James, how would you like to contribute to this? Would love to hear your thinking.
Sure, I can go next. For me, I've been resilient in a lot of things that happened. So I'm basically in a startup company now. So since I've been with the company for almost a year now, and we've changed directions 3 times so far, and I'm just currently going through another change where we're launching into international software SaaS sales. At the same time, right now, I'm building out business plans for 4 different channels of the market within North America: international, consulting business, and wealth management. So a lot going on with the team also reporting to me, and also developing and rolling out culture to the whole entire organization. There's about 30 of us. So just knowing that I know personally that I don't have all the knowledge, right? I tap on resources, I reach out to people and try to get that. And same thing with my team. I let them know it's okay. We have failed in the past. For the beginning of the year, we reset, restarted, allowed them to reset and learn new things and kind of take them forward to kind of be resilient and change. And change is big in my organization right now as we're growing, right, as a startup. So it's okay for us to know that we're going to test something, try it out. If it doesn't work, we reset and start again. So that's been one of the big things that I've been working on. And, I definitely am one who will reach out, tap on resources for advice because I don't have all the answers, right? Kind of a new charting waters right now and just trying to stay afloat and trying to get through things. So it's important for myself internally too to be able to reset, take a break and change gears and kind of make a strategic plan. So.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Now, Tom, what were you going to say? I don't want to cut you off.
No, I thought it was cool. There's something that John had said that reminded me, especially when we're looking at that servant leader role that we all presume and need to take onto ourselves. One of my mentors had mentioned that in this context of resilience is the ability to be comfortable while being extremely uncomfortable. You have to learn to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And if we as owners or founders or leaders take that upon ourselves, yeah, it comes with a paycheck that's a little bit more than the guy below us. It comes with different perks and benefits and things because it's beyond just hourly wage or thinking. It's problem solving. I don't pay you to think. I pay you to solve problems. We now need to go to that extra level. And if you can transfer onto your systems, your teams, your people, your organization, your community, that resilience is that ability to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And if we have to do it and we can acknowledge it to you and let you know, I don't expect you to be happy with this. I don't expect you to be comfortable with this. I'm uncomfortable with this. But we're going to all have to dig in and be uncomfortable for a little bit. And we got to be as comfortable as we can being uncomfortable by acknowledging that. And that to me helps them become more resilient in my experience.
Yeah. Yeah, really appreciate that.
Roberto?
Yeah, sure. I would say, one of the words that I wrote down in my little notes. There's a strong word that I like to use, grit, Grit. It's like a shorter word for resilience. And I use it in my thought process. I implement it, and I don't typically say it, but since you guys are bringing it out, I figured it's one of the things that I like to, I guess, show people whenever there's some problem that folks sometimes think it's unresolvable, like we're stuck, and it's like no, 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 no. There's always a solution. You just have to really dig in there, read a little bit more, send a couple of text messages, and they just squeeze through that little problem because tomorrow's gonna wake up. Tomorrow's coming. Either the problem is resolved, that you're stuck with it, or you moved into the next one and you resolved it, or you got some kind of baggage laying back. You know what I mean? Oh, that's not a resolved problem. It's not resolved. So, kind of being able to continuously resolve the problems that come up, I perceive, with the resilient process. Meaning, if you, I'm resilient, but I've got 10 problems that I haven't come up with, and this resilient situation is turning the way on me, And so we're continuously looking for a clean slate. Okay, it's this week's worth of resilience, but at least it's light. We can keep going because there are problems and the situations. The worst are the unexpectancy resilience needs. You're like, oh my God, I gotta be more resilient than I thought I was gonna be. So that's my team. Sorry, guys. Such an example, maybe before, whenever a storm would come or something crazy would happen, where it's like, crap, nobody can go anywhere, nobody can work, or we can't because the way that everything was set up before. Now we're more fluid, but we had to go through a lot of resiliency to become that. But now it's new stuff. Now you need new resilience for the changes that are so fast. You have to continuously oh, what are we doing next week? What changed? Why was last month so different than this month? So being actualized, I perceive, helps with that, the resiliency of everything that needs to get done.
That's great. Yeah, I was going to ask Raul a question, but I think he might have left, and I'll throw this question out to everybody. But I think Raul mentioned in his introduction, he talked a little bit about emotional intelligence. Rahul, did you mention emotional intelligence?
Well, not directly, but yes, I mean, definitely it's a key part of leadership. I mentioned business writers like Bob Sutton, Huggy Rao, that touch on some of those various aspects.
So what is the connection? What is the connection with emotional intelligence and developing this resilience?
Well, I mean, in very broadly, it's part of being a leader, people management, and again, leading a team through crises, keeping in mind kind of that human element. And yeah, that's kind of what it means to me. But yeah, I mean, obviously people emphasize sometimes strategy and analytical skills and such, but I think obviously emotional intelligence is a key part in just, relating to people, managing groups.
Yeah, this is a very minor example of resilience. So let me just put that out there. But it is an example of regulating and controlling emotions. So I have a speaking engagement on Sunday, and yesterday I decided that I would spend a little bit of time working on it. And when I got to my PowerPoint app and opened it, I could not find that file anywhere. I could not find the file anywhere. And I was like on the verge of, I want to say that I don't even think I had reached the point of cussing, but I was really, really anxious. And I decided in that moment that I had the ability, somebody mentioned control. I have the ability to control and to regulate my emotions. And if I freak out in the middle of this, that is not going to solve this problem. Now, long story short is I really did lose the file. And I had to spend a couple of hours recreating it. But I learned something. I learned that every time you open a file from an email, before you enable editing and make changes, you got to save it to your hard drive. I will never forget that lesson. So, out of something that is unfortunate, not only did I learn a lesson, but I was able to demonstrate, yes, emotional intelligence, and I built up my resilience. So I'm curious, I don't know if we have the time to do this, but I'd love to maybe just do a quick round. How do you develop your own resilience? How do you do it?
Man.
Yeah, oh yeah, sure, Roberto, jump in.
So get this, okay? Not too long ago, in one of the episodes, we had a lady. She's a brain coach, okay? And she informed us. I started using this knowledge, I guess, this information that we apparently have a tiny brain in our heart. Did you guys know that? It's crazy. Small brain, you can look it up. Small brain heart. And so after she mentioned that, we had a long discussion in the episode, and everybody learned a little bit. What you just told me, what you just mentioned about being able to control emotional intelligence and things like that, like I'm now like adding a little bit more to I don't want to say add, but like being more confrontational with situations that bring discomfort or resilience needs potentially, because I'm thinking now I'm like, well, I got two brains. I should be able to manage more than I actually thought I was before that I knew that I had two brains, if that makes any sense. But it's actually helping me a lot in the same context, even though it may not be directly related, and that brain and the heart may not act like you think it should, maybe, like it is kind of doing it. So keep that in mind.
Your small brain in your heart is your big heart in your head regulator.
And so just having this information, it gives me this, I would call it a little ability to have a little bit more confidence in things that I do, maybe.
Yeah, it's great.
That's awesome. Huh. What an interesting twist.
I know, right?
Don't want to forget Darren also on the phone. So Darren, if you want to chime in here, don't want to forget you.
Yeah, no, I was thinking about it. Roberto gave like a really great example. I was trying to find something akin to it, but building resilience. I find that talking with colleagues, problem solving in groups, is a great way to kind of build my resilience. Allows me to flesh out an idea, even if I'm halfway through, pushing out a new process. Just having someone with me to kind of walk through what I'm thinking helps me bolster or rethink what's happening. Something I've done, I guess, in my last two roles, prior to pushing out a new initiative, having a group of people who are going to manage it, do the day-to-day task, be a part of kind of a brain trust, to kind of think through a process and help evaluate, the success of the project and develop those KPIs. Just having that group of people be a part of kind of a weekly or a biweekly touch point as we go through, the deployment of a project helps that core team really stay focused, build resilience, and at the same time be able to be agile and make those changes as necessary.
Yes.
As we are having to adapt to when the rubber hits the road and and things actually start to be tested by users.
Yeah, certainly love your words, Darren. That word of adaption and is a good word. Being able to adapt in the moment and pivot. I think it's really important. Love that. Any other thoughts about developing your own resilience?
A lot of times
Rahul, go ahead.
Rahul, go ahead.
So basically, one other aspect, I would add is self-care and, having hobbies, unplugging,
Yes.
hiking, enjoying nature, those sort of things. We're often so driven and a lot of pressure with our, business focus interests that we don't pay enough attention taking care of ourselves, our own mental health, making sure, again, that we are in the best shape to make those decisions. So, and again, having hobbies, like I enjoy playing the guitar, and sometimes, even if there's a lot of things on my plate, I'll just try to take a break and, strum on the strings a little bit. And again, I think all those things can add up and help build resilience.
Yeah, I love that. I call that self-compassion. We show compassion and kindness to others. We need to do it to ourselves. So, Raul, appreciate you for saying that. What were you going to say?
No, it's a lot. Going kind of both of the original, Roberto and Darren's, both their comments, a big part of that is to not react in the moment. So when something comes at you hard, having wrestled as long as I did, my first reaction is to come back pretty hard. And what always helps me is to step back, always put yourself in their shoes. It's kind of like when you get that nasty email. If you respond right away, you're going to regret it. You got to put it away, center yourself, no matter how you do that, whether it's yoga, whether it's getting outside, whatever it is, get centered, look at where they're coming from and respond. Not necessarily, you don't need to capitulate if something you don't agree with, but put it in a non-combative format and just keep your cool. And that's really, when I look at resilience, it's just being able to continue to do things on an even keel. And that's a big part of it.
That's part of that emotional intelligence that we were talking about, the ability to stay calm.
Totally is. Yeah. And it's one where you don't, anger generally doesn't do anything but create more anger.
Yes.
So and if you're in a situation where someone's not changing, you don't need them in your life. You don't need them as a customer. There is that point where it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. James, you came off of mute. Would love to get you to add your thoughts here.
Kind of going with Raul's piece where I kind of said before about resetting myself, that's being self-aware. What's my current mood? What's my current situation? Sometimes I need to take a break and walk away and go for a walk, reset my mind, those type of things. But some other things I just kind of jotted down from just past, learn from my failures. I think, from the past histories of experience through my life, just learning those failures and being able to accept them and how do I improve upon things to make sure that I'm not going back to a failure point. And the other thing was just kind of having a growth mindset. I have to have that, especially in my current role where things are continuously changing, those type of things. And I usually face things instead of, being a challenge, I, kind of look at them as opportunities, right? So I kind of always kind of turn challenges into opportunities, because as I do that, I grow and learn from them. So that's kind of how I
Mm.
kind of build resilience.
I find that intriguing, James, in the comment, because as I was thinking the response about some clients never change and things like that. I'm like, yeah. Or you can adjust the pricing depending on how you need them to change. I'm like, and then overcome that challenge of, man, like this. I mean, we're working, but it's always this little problem situation that maybe I'm not doing, maybe we're not doing the right thing. Let me see if I'm just need to pivot a little bit with regards to what we're offering, how the solution is getting implemented, and then maybe everybody wins this way, And so, yeah, it's not, there's not always one solution or one potential, but I've had those clients where it's like, no matter how much you charge them, give you problems. so yeah, be mindful about that. But those, you learn a lot. It's like, oh, you know what? I'm never doing this again. I'm never doing this again. Let me adjust my price sheet forever. Thanks to you. Anyway, yeah. So thanks for that.
Good.
Yeah, I think, you look at countries like Israel, where it's mandatory year, 2 years of service. A lot of Europe's like that. And when I look at it in the US, I think it would be great to have every person out there work at least a year in a service job, either at a restaurant or in a customer service job, because it really gives you a much more appreciation of dealing with it teaches you resilience. And you can tell when someone's worked in a service job, they're much more in tune with the people they interface with. Roberto.
That's true.
But when you do it, though, work in a service, like with a smile the entire time. Challenge accepted.
Or you have to have a sense of
the whole
humor.
year.
Yeah, you have to have a sense of humor. And I've done that a lot where I'll just turn it back on someone. I had I can remember when I was working at Motorola, my first job out of college, and they literally gave me all the most difficult customers because I answered a call for someone who was at lunch, and he was so mad because his parts weren't in the US yet. I'm like, well, look, they're on a ship from Angers, France. They'll be here in 2 weeks. And I have no idea why they put them on a ship instead of a plane. And he goes, a ship that doesn't hold water. And I'm like, yeah, it floats on water, but yeah, you get it. And at that point on, he asked me my boss's name, and he called my boss. And he goes, okay, I only want to deal with this guy. I'm not talking to any of our customer service guys. So you just gotta keep it lighthearted, and you don't let someone turn you, because when you do, you've lost. It's like, and I look at Natan, any sports, if someone gets in your head, you're done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Raul, you raised your hand. Would love to hear you.
Sure. Well, yeah, since John mentioned sports, and again, just the general topic of resilience, I thought of Simon Sinek relates kind of an anecdote where, elite athletes were studied and analyzed. And if you ask them, like, are you nervous before a big competition or game? The elite, successful athletes, their general response is they're not nervous, they're actually excited. And basically, those high performing people who can sort of transform instead of feeling nervous into the feeling of excitement and, looking forward to that competition and channel that nervous energy into excitement are the ones who end up, achieving and winning the medals and, taking their teams to championships. So I thought that was kind of interesting, channeling nervousness into excitement.
Very cool.
It takes some resilience and some training and development for them to get there. You know what I mean? A little resilience on their end to practice to be able to channel it. You know what I mean? So that's cool.
Oh, very interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you, because we'll have a few minutes before we go out. I want to thank everyone for giving and opening, and hopefully when I started this off, I wasn't too far off in the sense that we did get some value, and this was a good use of your time, and hopefully you left a little bit better than when you came. If you don't mind to humor me and humor Tim, and we'll send this goodness out into the interwebs. The recording from tonight in its entirety, sorry, will go out to everybody who's an attendee. everyone who registered, we had another 60 people who registered and couldn't make it. For them, God knows it's a busy time going on in the States right now. For them, they'll get snippets of this, just some cool nuggets, and get invited to come back next month, invited to have a one-on-one with Tim if that serves them. For me, I wanted to make sure that everybody here knows you'll get a full copy of it so that you can have all of that. You'll be invited to have a one-on-one with Tim. Highly suggested. Take some time, see if there's some synergy. And at the same time, you'll also be invited to come back next month. Topic will change. This will never be a networking event, so please don't bring 5 or 6 friends. But if you do have one that you think might be of benefit, either to us as a group to hear from, and hopefully from them to be able to grow, we would love you to come back next month. We'd love you to bring a friend, and we'd love to see this grow and give more value to more people. In the
Sounds great.
meantime, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Let me ask if we can go around the room, take 30 seconds, take a minute if you feel inspired, and just share if you got something from today. Was it worth your time? Did you like it? Were you happy? Anything that you'd like to share with us. And if you don't mind, we'll put that on the interwebs and we'll tag you if that's okay. Who'd like to go first?
I'll go first. I had no idea what to expect. No idea what you guys are looking for. It's it was good meeting the group of people here. I love some of the stuff that I heard, and it's always, for me, it's rewarding because my goal is to learn something new every day. So there's nuggets I picked up here, and I was hoping if someone disagreed with me, they just flat out say, "No, you're full of crap. That doesn't work," because I learned from that just as much. So
Fair. That's
I
awesome.
appreciate everyone being here. Thanks.
Good.
Thank you. It's good to have you, John. Hoping to see you again.
Very cool.
Wonderful. Who'd like to go next? Roberto, thank you.
Sure. I'll tell you what, I was gonna log off right at the beginning. I was like, oh man, it's not a networking event. I'm out. But then you started talking, and I was like, oh, it's pretty interesting. Hold on a second. Let me listen to these guys have to say. But then I got intrigued. And then on top of that, my battery unplugged. And then at that point, I was like, let me just go. Then I was like, no, this is intriguing. Get my charger. So in that, I appreciated all the information. So thank you for that. And being able to share some of mine. So I appreciate also, giving back or sharing what I can, because as y'all mentioned, you give but then you also receive. So that was nice. I would like to offer an invitation to the channel. I'll send out the emails. Maybe you do something like this if you guys are interested more publicly, that you guys are aware that would happen. That would be super cool, because I did get a lot. And so I think something like this would resonate with a lot of folks with regards to value. So keep that in mind. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, it's Darren. One, I love Roberto's energy. I'm smiling every time he's talking. Just love it. But that being said, just hearing, about, everyone's perspective from their diverse background, one, it empowers me to kind of keep on going, but at the same time gives me new ideas to take to my team. So I really appreciate the wealth of knowledge and experience, from everyone. This is truly, each one feeds each one environment. So thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That's
thanks,
beautiful.
Darren.
I like that.
Everyone, it's Jim. So I can let you know, like, I've been on a few of the leadership roundtables already. I learn a lot every time. Subjects are always different, and I learn, and I'm able to take the tools I learn here and take them back to my team. So, it helps me be an improved, better leadership, role. I can, the time just to tag on giving Tim kudos. I worked with Tim in the past, back in my days at QVC television, in my career, and Tim has taught me so much throughout my life. And he's a great resource and a great gentleman, has so much knowledge. So I just wanted to plug that out there for Tim. So,
Jim, thank you.
Surely.
That was very kind.
I guess I can chime in. So yeah, just kind of echoing what Darren mentioned, enjoyed the diversity of perspectives, again, variety of experiences that were related. Obviously, building resilience, it's an ongoing iterative effort. There's no one, solution to it, but obviously, again, a lot of different approaches. And again, appreciate hearing everyone's perspective on that.
It's great. Thanks, Ro. Good to be with each of you. Really, really thanks for your engagement, your authenticity, and for the collaboration of thought. Love it. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Recordings will go out to everybody and invitations to come meet and greet, and we'll see you all next time. Thank you again.
Thanks, everybody.